I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, the mercy and compassion of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, and everyone for giving me this opportunity today to talk about today's topic, which is Chapter 31, Part 1. In terms of word length-wise, this is the longest chapter of the entire classic. Okay, 136 or 7 words, something like that. So it's even longer than Chapter 38. But in terms of material-wise, this is a little bit shorter, 1 page shorter, a little bit shorter than last chapter. But we'll take two classes to finish this chapter. All right. So this chapter, as you can tell from the overview, it's pretty long. It's chapter is called. It's an important chapter. It's attain oneness, or know the fundamental. Okay. That's the unofficial title of the chapter. Okay, so it's divided into 3 sections, or 3 main sections. Okay, the first section is talking about attaining oneness. The middle section is about lacking oneness, or if you deviated from oneness, or you can say lacking oneness. Okay. So today we'll cover almost these 2 sections. Sorry, section 2 maybe we'll cover halfway. Okay, and then the conclusion section is about the the lowly to the high, or okay. It's about that. All right. It's conclusion, and it's sort of like reveals there are 2 traits. Okay, to attaining oneness. Okay. All right. So we'll cover that in the second class. Okay. All right. So let's go to the outline. All right. All right. Okay. So the outline, the first phrase is those that attain oneness since ancient times. Okay. So basically they're saying in the old days, way back in ancient times, this is from Lao Tzu's period, which is 2,500, 2,600 years ago. So he was referring to the people, to the ancient sages or masters preceding him, which is, we were talking about another 1,000, 2,000 years before him. So we're talking about 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. So even in, ancient times relative to Lao Tzu, there were people, sages who have already attained the oneness of Tao. So, he's not the first. Okay, so, all right. And another meaning is those in ancient times who are in harmony with the Tao. Okay. Another general broader meaning is those in ancient times who have attained oneness, or being one with the Tao, realize the Tao as the origin or source of the cosmos in themselves. Okay, they realize it's the ultimate source. You can say it's the ultimate reality. Okay, so specific is it's those in ancient times who were one with their true nature, or Buddha nature, and in harmony with the essence the Tao. That means they don't deviate from the way of the Tao, the path of the Tao, if you will. Okay. Of course, the one, we say it's oneness. Okay, this is not the first time we encountered this term in this chapter. In the Tao portion, remember we're now in the virtue half of the classic. In the Tao half, the previous half, we've encountered this term before, and which I'll get to a little bit. Let's see. Okay. Let's refresh what's the meaning of the one. Okay. All right. So the one or oneness represents the Tao. You can say it's a metaphor, symbol for the Tao. So if you know the one or oneness, then you realize everything completely. Okay, that's to know. That's what's to know and to attain oneness. So everything is completed, achieved, and concluded. All right. So we've encountered this term, the one, the very first mention, or that when we encountered the term the one was back in chapter 10, the first phrase, the very first phrase, which is in holding the soul and embracing the one. Okay, so that's in chapter 10. All right, so these are some of the you can say characteristics of the one, right, or oneness. Can expand to form a infinite circle, or we say it's a circle. Just it's a metaphor. It just means it encompasses everything. It transforms into the void or emptiness. Right, encompasses everything where nothing is beyond it. Right. Okay. So it's all encompassing. Okay, you can say that it's all everything. Okay. Now you can shrink the circle to a point, which you can say part of that metaphor. It represents that mystic portal. We say, the first treasure. Okay, all right, the heavenly portal. And the point can be infinitesimally small, okay, where nothing is smaller than it. So this one, the Tao, in other words, it encompasses everything, and yet, so nothing is beyond it, okay, the Tao, and yet nothing is smaller than it. Okay, so that's comprehensive. That's everything. Okay. Now, then the circle can be cut and stretched into like a straight line. So that's what the one comes into play, the metaphor. Okay, so this one has infinite, transformations, right? It could be a circle, it could be a line, it could be a circle of infinite size, right? You can say, or infinite dimensions, it could be a line that's infinitely long, right? That has no end. And it could be a point. So it's all the one. So just like the number one, it's the beginning of all numbers. So infinity is one multiplied infinite times, right? Or okay. So the one also is the essence, okay? Because it has no dimensions, it has no forms, it's formless. Okay, you can say it's invisible. Okay, all right. Then in another chapter of the Tao portion, namely the last chapter. Okay, the oneness, or the one, is the fusion of the Tao essence, the void. Say nothingness, the void, not a vacuum, but not the because it's called a void because it's invisible. Okay, it's you can't see it, smell it, touch it, etc. And this essence or void has limitless functions and uses. Okay, so in chapter 37, right, the phrase 6 and 7, roughly in the middle of the chapter, we come across that phrase, right, which is what, the simplicity of the nameless. It's talking about the Tao. Now, if you combine these terms, the four characters or the four words, it represents the oneness. And what's the oneness of? It's of the nameless, which is the Tao essence, the void, you can say the emptiness, the void, the true emptiness, and the simplicity, which is, you know, that's a literal translation of this term, Chinese term, but it refers to the unprocessed wood, if you will. That means it has limitless potential or limitless uses, applications, right? The wood that's, unprocessed. You can, carve it up to, make lumber, to build homes, etc., to build a boat, etc. You can make tools from it, etc. That's the metaphor. Okay, so it just means it's the limitless potential or applications of the Tao essence. Okay, so that's chapter 37. We talked about it. Okay, then there's a deeper understanding of what to attain oneness means. It's to realize or understand what's the source. It's to know the origin. All right. So that's in chapter 22. We also talked about that. Okay. Chapter 22 is right. Chapter 22. We talked that it's to hold or embrace the one. Okay. It's the seventh phrase. Okay. It says, thus all sages hold the one or embrace the one, if you will. Okay. All right. That's the, all right. Okay. So the idea of the one is not new at this point in the classic, in the Tao Te Ching. We've already encountered it, all right, in the previous chapters, at least in these 3 previous chapters. I can't find this. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's what the oneness is. Okay. Now, also in the Book of Changes, all right? Okay. The void, or you can say absolute state, it's the true nothingness, if you will. Okay. It represents the essence. So usually the void or full of limitless possibilities waiting for manifestation, we say Wuji. Okay, that's in the Tao Te Ching. Sorry, in I Ching, Book of Changes, it says that they use the term Wuji. Okay, now this is the Buddhist phrase. Okay, Zhen Kong. Okay, that's in Buddhism. Okay, but it's the same thing. In Buddhism, true nothingness, it's indescribable. Okay, it's not a vacuum. It's true nothingness. It's emptiness. They use the term emptiness, sunyata. I mean, that's a term. But there's, even though it's empty, there's something in there. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so that's what it means by true nothingness. If there's nothing there, then it'd be a vacuum. Okay, so that's the difference. Whereas in the I Ching, it uses Wuji, the term Wuji, okay, to represent that. Okay, so they're, one's from the I Ching, the Book of Ching, and the other one is the Buddhist concept. Okay, but it's the same thing. So if you want to use another metaphor to describe what is just true nothingness and this Wuji, or Uchi should be absolute. I mean, that's another way to. You could use the number 0, or to describe these 2 ideas. Okay, these 2. All right. Then this true nothingness, or this Wuji, which is really you can say absolute state, gives rise, however, to the one, the oneness. Okay, which is the unity of the Tao essence and all its infinite potentials. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, so that's why in Buddhism they say Zhen Kong, which is literally true infinite. Miao Yo, that means Miao means marvelous, mysterious. Yo means existence. So it's marvelous, true emptiness, emptiness, nothingness, and marvelous existence or mysterious existence. Okay, so that's the oneness. It's empty, right? It's nothing. We say, we can see, touch, and yet there's something. Okay, so that's what the oneness is. Now, so in the Book of Changes, though, they use the term Tai Chi, okay, which is literally supreme ultimate. Okay, and the Tai Chi is actually, it's not the yeah, most of us see the Tai Chi as that big circle, the circle with like a like a curve. Well, it's a curve, through the center, which has two parts, right? One is white, one is black, and then in the white there's a black dot, and then in the black half there's a white dot. Most of us think of Tai Chi like that. Actually, that's not yet the Tai Chi. The Tai Chi is just that one big circle. It's actually non-differentiated. Okay, that's what I want to point out. What we understand as the Tai Chi is the Liang Yi. That's the duality. That's the white and black, positive and negative, etc. Okay, all right. That's what it is. Okay, so the oneness gives rise to duality. Okay, this is what the Book of Changes. Okay, then that in turn creates the 4 images, and then the 8 trigrams, which then combine, permutate to 64, right? 8 squared, 8 times 8. Okay, all right, and then that's when it starts representing, the heaven, the earth, everything else. Okay, so. Or another way from the Book of Changes of saying what the oneness is, it's the fusion of the essence, we say Li, principle, essence, truth, you can say even, the capital T, truth, the one truth, and then the spirit or energy and the forms or images. Okay, so that's what the the Book of Changes, I Ching, would describe that oneness. Okay, so to attain oneness is to already realize the root or the source. That means what the source is. In this case, it's the Tao essence. All right, it's to already know what the origin is. Okay, and it's to hold or embrace the oneness, right? Just like in chapter 10, right? Okay. And it's to know that all things are chief and concluded, which just means that everything has a beginning and an end, okay? Has a beginning and an end, all right? Okay. And which serves as an example for the world to follow. Okay, that's being applied, okay? Being on that path, right? Not to deviate from the Tao. That's what this chapter is talking about, right? Something about attaining oneness. Being at one signifies the oneness of the yin and yang of oneself and all of your manifestations. Okay, so and that's what the Book of Changes say. Okay, and we'll get to it because in in a previous chapter we've also talked about, I think it's chapter 28. Okay, that's to being the oneness of yin and yang of oneself, okay, of yourself, okay, which we'll get to. All right. The key point is when the ancients who have attained oneness of the Tao in their minds, they realize that all aspects of life and existence of the world, okay, the next remainder of first section, okay, that's what phrases 2 to 7, are mirrored in the individual as well. Okay, so even though they look externally, right, outside of themselves, they see the world, Mother Nature, the world, the heavens, the skies, the heavens, they see the oneness represented in the existence of the world, the cosmos, etc. But they also realized that that same type of oneness, quote unquote, right, is also in all aspects of life. In other words, in the living beings, okay, the living things, okay, all living things, as well as themselves, as individuals, as humans, okay. So they realize that they are a microcosm of the universe. That they reflect that too, okay. That the same principle, reality, etc. Okay, as just like the external world, the cosmos. Okay, if you want to go to that grand level, from the grandest level, that means that they are a reflection of reality at the earthbound level as well. So they see the external world, and at night they look at the clear skies, the stars, the galaxies, etc. Okay, of the cosmos. That they say, hey, that's the oneness. Okay, but they realize that each person is also a reflection of that reality. Okay, so you can say, it's very similar to say all is one and one is all. It's similar. That's the Buddhist concept. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's to attain oneness. So they understood that they are part, like a integral part of the cosmos, and that they themselves are the cosmos as well. Okay, so yeah, it could get pretty profound. Okay, but that's what this opening phrase, okay, like. Now the rest of the section one is talking. Lao Tzu will go into a little bit more specifics of what this oneness is, and then he's going to use it's six phrases. Okay, phrase 2 to 7. Okay, phrases 2 to 7 is, if you guys can recall, it's this. Okay, all right. Okay, that's what this. Okay, phrase 2 to 7. That's the first section. Okay, the first section. Okay, he's gonna talk about in using six examples. Okay, so this is heaven and earth. Okay, so that's one pair, duality, right? Heaven and earth. That's the yang and yin. And then the other pair is the spirits or gods and the valley. Okay, well, we'll get to that. And then the all mirror things, or includes living things, and the sovereign, or the rulers, humans. Okay, all right. So he's gonna use these six to describe, to sort of, further describe what oneness is and how it applies to them. Okay, all right. So here it is. Okay, so okay, so this is the rest of section one. So the heaven or the skies attain oneness and thus clarity. Okay, so the sky is clear. Okay, the earth attain oneness and thus tranquility. So everything is, you can say, tranquil means stable. Okay, it's not violent. Okay, it's not. All right. And then the gods, spirits, gods, attain oneness and thus divinity. Okay, we'll get to what these terms mean in the following section. But the valley attain oneness and thus abundance. What the valley represents. The mirror things attain oneness and thus life. The rulers attain oneness and became the world's standard. Such are the results of the oneness. Okay, all right. So okay, so let's look at the first pair. Okay. All these are definitions. Okay. Here, basic meaning of the first phrase. Okay. So it's two aspects, external aspects. It's when the ancients saw the beautiful, clear skies, they would say, heaven attain oneness. Okay, when the skies are in accordance with or conform to the Tao, they attain oneness of Tao. It just means that that's the normal, we can say, quote unquote, the normal appearance of what the sky should be. If it's, that is, it's clear. So if it's clear, that's in accordance. That's what you can say, quote unquote, the law of nature, dictate. Yeah, the sky should be clear. I mean, yeah, there could be a few clouds, but it's overall clear. Okay, all right. It means it's also tranquil. Okay, it means that there's I want to say nothing bad, but nothing is happening. It's just very in its, you can say, in its natural state. Maybe that's a better way. Okay. Now that's the external. Okay, the external. Then there's an internal aspect, which is we, humans. Okay, when we have the oneness of the Tao in our minds, our thoughts and perceptions have the utmost clarity, just like the clear sky. So that's a reflection. Okay, from the external, right? We see, oh yeah, when the sky, heavens, is at one or oneness with the Tao, it normally or usually or naturally should be clear. Okay. All right. So that's the external. But internally, we reflect that too. That is in our minds. Our minds, when we are at one, when we are, at oneness with the Tao, okay, our mind should be clear. We should see everything clearly, or we should understand, perceive, and understand things. Okay, so that means literally you can say, you are. I want to say 100. Yeah, you can say at the highest level. Yeah, you can say you have total, complete understanding, or understanding of everything. So that means you are enlightened. Okay, right? But then even then, there are levels below that. Your mind could still be clear. So you don't have to be 100% enlightened, like that of a Buddha. You could be a bodhisattva, even an arhat. Okay, all right, or not even enlightened. Okay, when you are even with the Tao at that moment. Another way of saying is that it's your Buddha nature or true nature that's in charge. So there are no extraneous thoughts, nothing, no desires, if you will, human emotions that will obstruct our thoughts or our understanding. Okay, that's another way of saying it. So that's what it means that you have clarity in the mind. Okay, so everything in your life is crystal clear, easy to see, understand. Okay, that's another. When I'm talking about that human level. Okay, by extension, when you are lacking in oneness with the Tao in your mind, it is as you have stormy clouds, as if the quote unquote weather in your mind has dark, ominous clouds hanging over everything in your mind, like thunderclouds, lightning, rain, and snow. Okay, so that's when our thoughts and perceptions lack clarity. Okay, so just like externally, there are times we're going to have thunderclouds, rain storms, heavy snow, hurricane, whatever. But those are the exceptions to the rule, right? We don't get rain every day, right? Right. I mean, some parts of the world, they, like some parts I know in the tropics, a lot of times it's probably, the tropics, they get rain every day, but it doesn't rain the whole day, right? You know, etc. Okay. So in general, right, just like the sky should be clear, we don't have these storm conditions or storm events 24 hours, or, every day. Okay. Whole day, right? It doesn't. So that's what the implication, the meaning is. Okay. So on a personal level, the sky or heaven represents the yang, right? That's the yang principle, or the masculine-like qualities or traits within us, such as, the idea of movement, action, hardness, and vigor, etc. Okay, that's the yang aspect. Okay, that's the metaphor. Okay, all right. Then there's the second phrase, which is talking about the earth, right? Now it's the earth, right? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, here. All right. So there's the external part to it. All right. That's when the environment, the earth, okay, earth, the land is peaceful and tranquil. The ancients would say, hey, that's what oneness, that's what normal should be like. Okay. That's what it should be. The land should be peaceful and quiet. It shouldn't be moving around, right? Just like the sky should be open and clear, normal. Now, but then what you say? Well, what about earthquakes, landslides, et cetera, tsunamis, etc.? Those are rare events. Those are not quote unquote normal or typical. Okay, so most of the time, the earth environment and the ground is solid and stable, peaceful and tranquil. Okay, because otherwise nothing could survive, right? So if you look at other planets, which are always, maybe, I don't know, Mercury is like that because it's very close to the sun. So, the gravitational forces to the sun would act on uh, the, the, the say the tectonic plates of Mercury and, always, causing movements. So therefore, you know, it's unstable. So there's no life, okay, or whatever, okay, or nothing could really be established on that surface, okay, of Mercury. But okay, so that's okay. Additional meaning is now that's the external. We talk about the land, the ground, etc. Internally, humans in general are lacking in tranquility. So we're not as peaceful, serene, and tranquil. So, why are we not lacking tranquility? Well, because we have emotions, right? So let's say a couple weeks ago or several weeks ago, we talked about the human emotions, the seven emotions, six desires. Okay, because of that, because of those, and now you can say what is the cause of that, or I mean, it could be external, it could be internal, etc. But okay, but in general, if we have those seven emotions, that means you know we're going to have our ups and downs. We're going to have joy and rage, right? Happiness, sadness, um, love, hate, desires. Those are not stable, right? Those qualities, those traits, right? So that's when why humans in general we lack tranquility. Okay, so that's a sign of lacking oneness. Okay, all right. So this also refers to the foundation of our lives. Do we have tranquility in our hearts, in our homes, right? When we have the oneness of the Tao in our home, there is stability and peace of mind, right? So this peace in your home becomes the castle of tranquility to shield you from a chaotic world. So directly and indirectly, it provides tranquility in your heart, right? So most of us, if we have families and we have homes, our state of mind, okay, in this like tranquility from heart and mind, is a has a correlation, you can say, to the what stability and tranquility in our home, right? Okay, so another understanding is when you have tranquility in your heart, you're able to create a tranquil environment in your home, right? So there's a direct relationship, if you will. Okay, so all right, so if we don't have tranquility in our heart and minds, then it's not easy to create a tranquil environment in our home, right? You're going to have arguments, etc., disagreements, etc., right? So that's when, you know, okay. So there's another understanding, okay, a more metaphorical understanding is that the earth represents the yin principle or the feminine like qualities or traits within us, such as stillness. Stillness is a trait, right, within all of us. Stillness and tranquility, but that's the female. We're feminine like that yin quality. Okay, softness and fertility. Okay, etc. Okay, so that's what the earth also represents. Okay, so Lao Tzu is using the pair, the heaven and earth, okay, as a complement. Remember, so the heaven and earth, right, the yang and the yin, represents the what? The complementary dualities of the Tai Chi, right, the supreme ultimate, right? So that's the one. You have to have both, right? Okay, so the higher understanding of the first and second phrases is that, okay, now on a personal level, this pair of the above first and second phrase represents the oneness of the yang and yin principles within each person, which is to enter the middle way. So if you have the oneness of both, the yang and the yin, okay, principles, then that's the middle path. Okay, you don't go to the extremes of all mostly yang or all mostly yin qualities, right? You have to have a balance. You have to have the two, okay, fused in a harmonious manner. That's the middle way. Okay, that embodies the oneness of the Tao. Okay, so that's what's getting to in chapter 28, first line. It says to know the masculine, to hold to the feminine. Okay, we talked about that, right? Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, all right. Okay, so all right, so it's not just on the external, world, the heaven, the sky, and the earth, but also within us. Okay. All right, so that's the first two phrases. The third phrase, we're talking about the gods or the spirits. Okay, it's okay. It's the spiritual aspect. Okay, the deities or gods represent the divinity, and hence spirituality, and has nothing to do with the pantheon gods. So what Lao Tzu was talking about, referring to about the gods, he's not referring to specific god. There's a god of the earth, god of the sky, god of the forest, god of the mountains, god of the oceans. No, he's not talking about that. Okay, so a lot of our ancient cultures, we have gods, representing different things, right? you know uh the all ancient cultures, they have some god of the sky, even God of the sun, God of the earth, et cetera, et cetera. Lao Tzu was not talking about that. Okay, it's actually these gods are metaphors. Okay, but we'll talk about which is the second line. It's the deities and gods also represent avatars. Okay, avatar. That's actually the term avatar is a well, you guys can Google it, but it's a Sanskrit term, by the way. Okay, so it's used in what Cameron's movie Avatar. Okay, so in Chinese it's 神之下凡. That means just the gods that come down to earth. Okay, or that's that I don't say reincarnate, but they take a form, a human form, in the earthly in the worldly realm. Okay, so that's what that. It's a verb. I think avatar is something to come down, something like that. It's translated. It's a verb. It's not a noun. It's not supposed to be a noun. It's supposed to be a verb. But anyway, and the paragons of human virtues and character. Paragons means the more fine. Well, it translates more fine. You say the highest examples, right? Or the best examples, okay, of human virtue and characteristics. Okay, all right, that's what it's supposed to represent. Okay, all right. So now individually, when you have oneness of the Tao in your spiritual practice, you are able to manifest divine wisdom and authentic power, right? Authentic power meaning the power that comes from within, not based on, knowledge, etc. It just means, you can say eternal spiritual power, okay? So, all right, so that's the internal aspect of what the deity or the deities or the gods represent. So a lack of oneness of the Tao would be someone who's only going through the motions, practicing the rituals while doing it. Yeah. So in from a practical standpoint, if we say the divinity, this phrase is saying that when the gods, the spirits, okay, the gods, we don't have oneness, okay, or a lack of oneness, then we're just going through the motions, the practice, right? The motions, practicing about, but what we're really, even though physically you're doing the practice, you're going through the practice, of either praying, whatever, okay, chanting, meditating, whatever. But actually, internally, our minds are not focused, okay, are not doing the ritual. We're thinking about something else, okay, okay, or we're being distracted, okay, etc. Okay, so all right, that's to lack the oneness. That's when it means that the spirits lack oneness. Okay, all right. Here's another understanding: if the deities of God or gods represent the spiritual, which is the metaphysical aspects of you, of ourselves. And what is that? That's our spirit, our soul, and our Buddha nature essence. Okay, so that's what that, you can say, the deities represent. Okay, all right. Okay, now, so that's the third line. The fourth line is the valley attain oneness and thus abundance. Okay, so what's the valley? The valley, okay, now this is talking about the physical world, the phenomenal realm. The abundance of the valley represents abundant prosperity in your life. Okay, so that's material now. Okay, so the third phrase deals with spiritual. Okay, spiritual aspect or metaphysical. Now the fourth phrase deals with the material aspect. Okay, so so okay, so externally, we see a valley, and usually a valley represents abundance. Not abundant. Yeah, you can say abundant because that's where the valley is fertile, has fertile soil. That's when you can, plant crops, build your homes, etc., etc. Okay, that's what the valleys represent because usually valleys have rivers in them, right? That's how you create a valley. Usually, not. Okay, not all the time, but usually. Okay, and that's what represents, okay, those metaphors. Okay, so that's what Lao Tzu is using the valley mean. But on the individual level, when you have the oneness of Tao in your valley, you can say, in yourself, you are able to manifest material and non-material wealth, which frees you from worrying about resource deficiency, not having to worry about insufficiency of any kind. So that wealth, it doesn't mean just material. Okay, it can be in terms of relationships, friendships, connections, and goodwill. Okay, not limited to material. Okay, so that's on the individual level what Lao Tzu is talking about, the valley. Okay, so it's our worldly abundance aspects. Okay, all right. So there's another meaning of the valley. This is now external, represents the mundane or the physical aspects of us. That's our family, professions, relationships, etc., connections, etc. Okay, so that's what that fourth phrase externally is. It's the mundane, whereas the third phrase, right, represents the spiritual or metaphysical. So once again, the third and fourth phrases is a pair, it's a complement. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so the third and fourth phrases on a personal level represents what? The oneness of the metaphysical or the spiritual and the physical or worldly aspects of each person. Once again, If you have that oneness between these two, the spiritual and the worldly, that's the middle path. Once again, the oneness, if you have the oneness of those two, okay? So that's the balance that embodies the oneness to Tao, the harmonious fusion of both the spiritual and mundane life. Okay, so that's the what metaphor too. Okay, so that's the second pair, the third and fourth, representing the spiritual and physical or worldly, okay, aspect, the metaphysical and the physical. Okay, that's the oneness once again. Okay, so it's like another perspective of the first two phrases of the section, which is about the yin and yang, the sky and earth. Same idea. Okay, once again, so you have oneness. Okay, now let's go to the. Oh, okay, here's a deeper meaning of the fourth phrase. Oops, is the valley as a metaphor for our valley spirit. You can say that, which is the heavenly portal. Okay, so when the valley has oneness of the Tao, it means the valley is very clear and divine. Then the valley spirit will, manifest itself. Okay, so that's a more specific, you can say, deeper metaphor for the valley. Okay. The fourth phrase also say, although the valley appears empty, inside the valley there is, quote unquote, something formless within. Okay, that is our Buddha natures, where the marvelous portal is the door to all wonders. Okay, so that's the more specific, narrow understanding of what the valley in us represents. Okay, so now let's go to the last pair. Okay, so the fifth phrase on the worldly perspective or realm is the mirror things. Okay, don't forget the fifth phrase is the mirror things attain oneness and thus life. Okay, so for the physical world, the mirror things represents nature, health, and life itself. Okay, all right. Another meaning is that's the external. Okay, the internal is when you have the oneness of Tao of mirror things, you live life with zest and you enjoy physical. So one is the broad or the many, the world, the external world around us, the living things, right? Oh, the mirror things. And then the other is you as an individual, okay? That when you have the oneness of the Tao, of the mirror things, you live with, with zest, okay? And enjoy good health, okay? All right, so you're part of the mirror things, okay? All right, or you're in harmony with the living things. Okay, so additional meaning is further understanding is, on the other hand, a lack of oneness of the mirror things would manifest as low energy, lethargy, little or no interest in everything life has to offer, lots of inertia and a disconnection from nature, and a disconnection from nature. All mirrored living things must also have oneness of the Tao in order to live and survive. Okay, all right. All right. So, all right. So without the Tao or the oneness, no living things could live and survive and thrive for that matter. Okay. All right. So that's the external aspect. Okay. So and what that is the okay. If all the mirrored living things do not have the oneness of the Tao, then they will not germinate. That means, give rise, right? Um, um, uh, to the next, I guess, next generation, right? Okay, so they won't grow and develop. They will not what grow seeds, right? Okay, they cannot. Okay, right. So, all right. Now, okay, so that's the mirror things. Now the last phrase is talking about the rulers attained oneness and became the world standard. Okay, so it talks about on an individual level, the rulers represent, leaders that are virtues. Okay, that have virtues. Remember, we're talking the rulers that have attained oneness. Okay, the retainers one. Okay, so another meaning is when the rulers attain oneness, it means the rulers have the Tao. They have virtues which allow them to be the standard or examples for others to follow. Okay, so the additional meaning is, if the rulers make great efforts to lead people by the true principles, right, principles of the Tao, then all things will be very auspicious and harmonious, very propitious and peaceful. Everything will be very ideal. That would be the an extreme example. You want to say extreme example would be a world of harmony, right? According to the Book of Rites, right? The Confucian ideal, right? We talked about that before, right? Previous chapters. Okay, so that would be an example, right? So you can say a world of harmony would be that the rulers have attained oneness. Actually, the whole society has oneness. But anyway, okay, so that's an example. Okay. All right. So now that's we're talking about rulers. But what about you as a per individual? Well, here it is. What's that? As an individual, you have the oneness of Tao. You are living an exemplary life. That means a life that's worthy. That's worthy, right? That you are setting an example. Okay. So you have the honor of serving as an example or the standard for others to follow. This represents, it has many areas, and one aspect is leadership at home. You are a role model as a parent or as a son or daughter, etc. Okay, at home or at work or between friends or in the community, everywhere, okay, or in society, etc. So this determination of standard is made by the people, not yourself. Okay, so that's the key part. Okay, it's others point to you and say, hey, you you have a very virtuous life. You live a very virtuous life, etc., etc. So you are worthy to to be an example, etc., etc. Okay, all right. So deeper understanding is okay. That's on the internal level. It's the true master within us, the true nature, the Buddha nature. Okay, that's the ruler. Okay, in us. All right. Okay, so the basic meaning of now the last phrase is such are the results of oneness. Okay, so what Lao Tzu pointing out to those, using those 6 phrases to describe the positive traits and benefits in one's life, which are possible through oneness of the Tao. Okay, all right. So personal is, on the personal level, is when we when we attain oneness, you are the example or model for the world. Okay, for everybody to follow. To attain oneness is the pursuit of the truth, which is to seek the original Buddha nature essence. Okay, so that's the highest level. Okay, that's the highest level. Okay, all right. That's really the path of enlightenment, you can say. Okay. So on a personal level, it's just by being able to wield yin and yang. Remember the earth and the heaven or sky, right? Earth and sky, that's the first 2 phrases. Then the spiritual, which is the gods, and mundane, which is the valley, that's the 3rd and 4th phrase. And then the myriad things and individual, that's the rulers, together skillfully. So if we're able to wield, to fuse them, to harmoniously be in harmony with all these, you can say complements, you can say, right? Okay, pairs, skillfully, we become the example, role model, or standard for others to follow. Okay, that's means you have the oneness, you attain the oneness. Okay, now there's another deeper meaning. Okay, the term zhen is that the dictionary meaning is standard. It means standard. Okay, it's the higher level meaning. It's the heavenly standard. Because standard according to the Tao, you can say. Okay, of the heavenly code or way, that which is proper. It also then there's a definition of what proper is. Okay, it's in accordance with Buddha nature essence. Okay, all right. So the deeper understanding of the last phrase is, when we say the rule, such are the results of oneness, is on a personal level. With oneness, okay, you already conform to the heavenly standard. So you are already in the center of the middle way. So you are, right smack in the center or in the midst of Tao. You can say, okay, you are the middle way. You are in the Tao. Okay, you are the Tao. Okay, you can say that. All right. Okay, so that's the very highest level. Okay. All right. So on a personal level, being already in accord with the heavenly standard, it'll be easier to abide with the Tao, easier to perform and carry out actions, right? Because you are part of the Tao. So everything is just natural. It's, remember last chapter, chapter 38, everything is what? Non-conditioned, right? Non constrained or not what's the good word? Not it's contrived, right? Contrived, not it's without agenda, non-conditioned, like I said. Okay, so that's why it'll be easier to form because everything just flows directly from our Buddha nature, from the Tao. Okay. So the implication is those who have attained the oneness realizes that the Tao is within them and they are the Tao. Okay. So they're the one. Okay. So literally the universe is in you and you are the universe unto yourself. Okay. So yeah, there's a summary. Okay. Wow. It's almost an hour. Okay, I'm going to take about 15 minutes to get into the next section. But okay, here's the key point. All right, let's go to table A. Okay, then I'll summarize. Okay, here's table A. Okay, this is just summary. Okay, of what attaining oneness. Okay, that's the first section. Okay, so I divided up into well, it's three sections, but it's really two. One is the world, that's the external, and then you, that's you are part of the world, okay, and then what the oneness represents, okay. Okay, so the first two phrases, right? It's about heaven and earth, or sky and earth. Then that's the in the phenomenal dimension, but within humans, it has to do with our mind, the state of mind, and then our heart or the home, okay, the base, okay. And so if we have oneness, what Lao Tzu said, right? His phrase is that the sky having oneness is clear, right? Has clarity, right? Okay, that's clear. It just means that you, us as humans, our state of mind is clear, okay, when we have the oneness. Same thing with the earth, right? When it has oneness, it's the earth is tranquil, it's stable, okay? Not moving around, not shaking around. So similarly, when we have the oneness within us, that is our heart, is peaceful, tranquil, okay? Stable, okay? Not going up and down with the emotions and desires, okay? Then the next pair, right, having to do with the gods, the deities. When they have oneness, there's divinity, meaning that there's divine wisdom. Divinity on the external, which is that, they can be worshipped, right? Yeah, that's why. Because the gods have divinity, so that's why they are worshipped, right? They are respected at least, okay? Never mind worship, respected, honored, etc. Remembered, right? Okay, okay. When we have oneness within us, that's our spirituality. Then we have divine wisdom. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, when we have the oneness, and similarly, when the valley has oneness, attain oneness, it's abundant. Okay, it has a river flowing through it. The land is fertile. The temperatures are right to grow crops. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so all that physical, worldly stuff within us, when our valley, okay, we have wealth, prosperity. Once again, it could be material, non-material. That means we have surplus. We don't have to worry about deficiencies, lack of, anything that's lacking, et cetera, okay? So we have, never mind, not just material surplus, but non-material, meaning, our family relationships, our goodwill, our connections, et cetera, right? Okay, so, and then the last two phrases, the living things, the mirror things, okay, are healthy, are thriving, flourishing, okay? That's when they have the oneness, right? When the living things have the oneness of the Tao, they're thriving, okay? Within us, that represents the physical aspect, the body, the physical body, the vitality, okay? That's the inner, okay, the vitality. So that means we have life force, all right? Okay, we can live, we can enjoy life, we are healthy, et cetera, okay? All right, we can move around, right? We're not bedridden, we're not sick, et cetera, okay? All right, then the last phrase, sixth phrase, the rulers, when they have oneness, they are the example, okay, for the people to follow, for the society, et cetera. On the personal level, individual, it represents our leadership, be it at home, work, community, society, et cetera, okay? We are the standard. We are the examples, okay, for others, all right? So that's what this section is all about, okay? So if you notice, it's 3 pairs, 6 phrases, 3 pairs, okay? They're all complements, okay? So the key point is, okay, okay. They represent the complementary dualities of yang and yin. That's the first 2 phrases. The spiritual or metaphysical, and the worldly or physical. That's the phrases 3 and 4. The myriad, which is the infinite, and the individual, which is the finite. That's the phrases 5 and 6, right? That's the myriad things and the rulers. Okay. So when they are harmoniously fused together, that's the middle way. The one principle, one nature, one mind. Okay, that's the oneness. Okay, so which is to attain the oneness of the Tao. Okay, that's the oneness of the Tao. That's what that means. Okay, when we all these 6 phrases that Lao Tzu mentioned in this section, they have to be harmoniously fused together. That's what the oneness represents. Okay, all right. Now this is to reflect the external from the internal, to return to our Buddha nature essence state, okay, to that original true state, the harmonious fusion of the Buddha nature essence and all its manifestations, to become a boundless, limitless, and liberated individual. That's the oneness, okay? On the individual level, okay? Let's go to summary part 1, okay. 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 Shoot. Okay. Oops. Go down. Here's the. Okay, that's the summary section. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Summary. Okay. Looks like I'm not get to section 2, but okay. So what is the oneness? All right. So that's, we keep use that term, the oneness to Tao. Okay. So here, so like the Tao itself, oneness is a characteristic can be attained at different levels of reality or existence. So what basically means that there are different layers of meaning. Okay. Different levels of meaning. And we talked a little bit about this in the very first phrase on page 1, right? But this is another more another way of looking at it. Okay, here. All right, so at the most macro level, the grandest level, okay, the oneness is the totality of the cosmos, the universe itself, the all encompassing everything, right? We talked about that. Okay, so right, nothing is beyond it, the oneness, okay, the Tao. Okay, so everything is an inseparable part of this overall totality. Just as a drop of water is part of the ocean. Okay, so we're all part of this totality, of this oneness. Okay, all right. Nothing is separate or outside of it. Okay, or beyond its bounds. Okay, so if that's the case, then we can learn about the water to understand the ocean, the droplet. Okay, so same thing. If we understand ourselves, then we understand the universe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's the same with the cosmos, the universe. So that's similar to my doctrine is that of an all-pervading unity or the essence. Okay. So that's from Analects. All right, book 4, leader N. Okay, this is probably the most, I guess, profound, right, line in the Analects. Okay, all right. So it's the unity. Well, what Confucius was talking about. He said this to I think Zhenzi, right? Okay, that his teaching or his the doctrine, the core, the essence, you can say, of of Confucius' teaching, is that talking about this oneness, okay, the Tao, okay, the unity. All right, so that's what I mean. Okay, so that's one level. Okay, that's at the macro level. Okay, the most, the grandest. Then there's the micro. Okay, so at the most micro level, the oneness is the most infinitesimal small point, a singularity without dimensions. Okay, so even sub-quantum level. Okay, so that means the implications, there's nothing smaller than the infinitesimally tiny point of one. So that's why we also said that right earlier, that there's nothing smaller than it. Okay, so it can be so small that it's beyond, I don't know, comprehension, or beyond even the sub-quantum level, and yet it's so great it encompasses the entire, I don't know, cosmos, the universes, etc., etc. Okay, all right. Now, what about that human level here? Okay, here's the human level. Okay, another level, at the human level, the oneness refers to our connectedness, okay, to one another in the most fundamental way. We are one, right? What we are one? Because we have the identical Buddha nature essence. Okay, that's it. That's it. Yeah, externally we look different, right? We have different ideas, views, perceptions, blah blah blah. Desires, emotions, but that's not the essence. Okay, the essences are Buddha nature. Okay, that's the true, because that's the one that's eternal. Everything else is subject to change, right? It's anicca, impermanent, right? Okay, so our connectedness is the underlying reality. That's the core. Whereas while division is the superficial level illusion, which is based on the superficial level, which is what? External appearances, feelings, etc., all that, okay, which is not real. Okay, so failure to see through this illusion is the reason that gives rise to conflicts, and that's the problem. The root of the problem is this: is we fail to see that all the superficial stuff is false. The physical level, all that, right? The emotions, etc., etc. Okay, because they're subject to change. Okay, they're also influence, condition, etc. Okay. So that's the human level. That's what the oneness is. Okay. Now, just one more. Okay. Here. Okay. That's it. Okay. The oneness is the one true path or way. You can say it's the Tao. It's the Tao. The oneness is the Tao. That's what Lao Tzu said. Okay, so a lot of times we have many choices in life. Sometimes we can sense, but sometimes we can sense that one of them is the best. The question is which one, right? Which choice is the best? Okay, so it is as if we were presented at many junctures or crossroads in our lives, many multiple doors, and we can only choose one. But which one, right? That's the question. Okay, so the one true path will lead us to the best door. Okay, this is the highest level. Okay, so this is the best path because this one true path is the same path as the one leading to the extinction of suffering or samsara. Okay, this is from the Buddhist perspective, leading to unsurpassed enlightenment. Okay, that's, remember, the fourth noble truth, right? That there is a path to what? To transcend the suffering, right? Remember, the first noble truth is, life is suffering, dukkha. I mean, suffering is very narrow, okay? Dukkha is a better term because it's broader. Dukkha means not just physical suffering or even emotional or mental suffering, but also dissatisfaction. The notion that even good things, even happy things, things that you cherish, don't last forever, at least in the physical realm, right? That's the anicca aspect. Okay, so that's why it's dukkha, because it's unsatisfactory. It's not satisfactory, right? Nothing is permanent. Okay, so anyway, I mean, it's good or bad, but it depends on your perspective. But anyway, that's the path. So that's what oneness also represents. That this is the very high level. Okay, so the highest. Now it can. Okay, now we can look at, in sort of many paths or many doors. We can say it's a combination lock. There are many possible combinations, but only one will unlock it. The best path for you is similar. One path out many is the most optimal. Okay, so the teachings of the Tao can help us identify which one optimal path that is. The path that may not be left for an instant. If it could be left, it would not be the path, right? That's Doctrine of the Mean, chapter 1, second paragraph or second verse. Okay, so that's what oneness also represents. Okay, not just the grand, the macro, the micro, or the human, but also represents the one true way, path, the Tao. We can say the Tao. Yeah. All right. Okay. I I'm already what, 75 minutes, Tai? Yeah. Okay. So I'm done with section one. Wow, it took a while. Okay. Let's just start. I'll just lead off, and then because we have. Okay. Okay. So that's section one. All right. Now let's go to six. That's section one. Okay, so we're done with the first 8 phrases. Okay, first, now section 2 it's a little bit shorter, but it's basically talking about like the opposite, saying that if the heaven and earth, if the spirits in the valley and living mirror things and the rulers lack oneness, or lack, if they don't have the oneness, if they didn't attain the oneness, then what would be the consequence? Okay, so I want to say it's not exact opposite, but it's similar. Okay, so instead of saying the sky lacking oneness, what would happen? So instead of saying the sky lacking this, okay, he would say the sky lacking this, okay, clarity, or the earth lacking this, okay, which is to say it lacks oneness. It's the same thing, but he doesn't repeat oneness. He would just say he was talking about the different traits. Okay, all right. So basically, it's all of this. Okay, so he says the sky lacking clarity would break apart. The earth lacking tranquility or stability would erupt. Okay, the gods lacking divinity would vanish, would disappear. The valley lacking abundance would wither or die away. The myriad things lacking life would be extinct. The rulers lacking standard, however grand and high, would be toppled. Okay, so that's the lead in to the second half. We have a lot more ground. Wow, 14. Okay, I cover about 7 pages. Yeah, it's about halfway. All right. So Tai, for now, I'll stop here because I don't want to break up this. This will go quicker, this section, all right, and then the conclusion section. Okay. So let me see. Do I have to go to one more? Let's see. What's this? No. Okay, I'll finish that. Okay, so in the summary, yeah, okay, at the very end, there's something really nice about this chapter, which we'll talk about in the next class. We all or you all should remember that I think it's chapter 8, right? We say Lao Tzu talked about be like water. Well, in this chapter, it's also the next best thing. Well, be like water is the dealing with the essence part, the Tao part. You can talk about that. Yeah. Also, it has its virtues too, but remember the be like water, the 7 virtues of water. Okay, now in this chapter, he's not saying emulate water. He's also saying you also have to have some qualities of a rock. Yeah, rock, stone. Okay, but anyway, that's something to think about for this chapter. All right, so I'll stop right here because I don't want to go into this because it might take another 30 minutes, which I don't want. Okay, all right, so we'll stop here for now because it's about 75 minutes. And next week, I'll pick up in section 2, which is this section, all right? And the conclusion. This section should go a little bit faster than section 1. Okay? All right. So I'll stop here for today's class. I'd like to, if I've said things wrong or incorrectly, I ask for Buddha's and Lao Tzu's guidance and forgiveness.